Our first moto is underway. Lots of speed in that first straightaway. Number 1, Steve Lamson, the whole shot on the red bike. There's Michael Craig, number 17, 22, Buddy Anthonez. In second place is Craig Wyndham. Wyndham has now moved into the lead. Wyndham wasting no time. Lamson coming right back. They bump in the corner. Good bar-to-bar action here at the beginning. Huffman in about 4th position as Lamson tries to cut inside, but good speed by Kevin Wyndham as they make the jump clean. Oh, Kevin is fast on this track as he picks the inside rut. Lamson content to follow. Great start of our first moto. The youngster out in front. The crown champion in second place.
Looked like Lamson had the whole shot, had everything all to himself. Here comes Wyndham along the outside, makes the pass right away, messes with their concentration at the beginning of the race.
Kevin Wyndham has really got it all out on the off-camber turn even. Honda of choice Michael Craig in 3rd with Huffman of Team Kawasaki in 4th.
You can hear the crowd starting to get into it now. They're looking for that showdown between Lamson and Wyndham. We've been waiting for this all year long. They've gotten together mid-pack, but right now they're out front. Lamson seems content right now to just bide his time and let things sort themselves out, but Wyndham is on fire right now, starting to pull away.
I noticed Wyndham with those hand guards used for the hare scramblers and the enduro riders. It's pretty rocky soil out there, it must be.
Most of these guys use those just to protect their hands, but right now no one's spitting any rocks at Wyndham, so he doesn't even need them. But back in the pack, you need them for sure.
Kevin Wyndham missing the season's opener in Gainesville because of the broken collarbone in Supercross, but he is the only rider to win overalls beside the champion Steve Lamson.
When he gets the whole shot, he's usually long gone. Right here, starting to open up a little bit of a lead on Lamson, but Steve's right there. He's not the type of rider that's going to stay in the roost of Wyndham. It doesn't make any sense. He's got a good cushion over 3rd place right now, so stay just out of that roost, search for some lines, get yourself dialed into the race, and as long as he doesn't pull away too much, he's still in good shape.
Oh, we've got Scott Carter, Michael Brandis, and also Clowers 112 that hit the deck there. Clowers up and running. Brandis trying to restart.
See the shadow there from the tree. It's hard to see the line when you come through there. And somebody just got out of shape, took everyone down, looks like.
The battle for 3rd. Michael Craig with Damon Huffman closing in. Craig with a new contract for next year and a new attitude.
Craig over jumping that big plateau a little bit. Looked like he just was a little bit off his timing there, trying to reach up, pull a tearaway. Still pretty close to the leaders, though. Top 4 guys starting to separate themselves out just a little bit right now, but I think Lamson has still got his sights set on Wyndham.
One encouraging sight for Huffman fans is the fact that it's apparent that their ignition problems aren't hounding them here in this race.
Well, it's difficult to get yourself dialed into a season when your bike's having trouble finishing a moto. He didn't even qualify for the Troy, Ohio round, so Mike Craig missing a gear right there, almost going over the handlebars. These guys ride so far forward. If you do miss a gear, have any kind of trouble, you're way over the front end.
A tremendous crowd here at Binghampton. We'll be back with more with Kevin Wyndham, our leader. Coverage of AMA Motocross is being brought to you by the reigning Supercross 125 and 250 outdoor champions, Honda. Come ride with us. Welcome back. Moto 1 of our 125s as the Suzuki stopwatch ticks off. It's about 2.8-second lead for Kevin Wyndham over Steve Lamson and Michael Craig, about 8.5 back with Huffman challenging for 3rd. The top privateer, Buddy Anthonez, going through the bottom of our screen as we check out the field. Here's John Dowd, a sluggish start for Dowdy.
Having to work his way up. You can see he's just covered with mud right now. The track is actually in great shape, but there's a few spots that were a little wet after practice. They dozed them over to try to eliminate that one line situation that was going on. But you can see right now he's covered. It's going to mess up his vision, be tough to work his way through the pack. Meanwhile, the leaders are breaking away.
Battling for a matter of pride within the Yamaha camp. As Kevin Wyndham, our leader, and Dowd in 8th place, they're fighting it out for 2nd place overall. Dowdy with a 12-point lead, as we mentioned earlier.
That's probably going to shrink quite a bit unless he can get up to the front, because his teammate out front mired back in the pack right here, he's going to give up a lot of points.
A strong finisher, but he's had problems during the first moto, scoring better than the second moto tally.
Well, he's comfortable on this racetrack. He won here a couple of years ago on the 250. The 125s are a little different.
His mechanic riding on the pit board, get with it. He's not too happy with John Dowd. Davey Coombs spoke with Dowd earlier.
John, how important is it for you to beat Kevin Windham in the final ranking?
Well, you know, it's pretty important to me. You know, I'd definitely like to be second, and I would ultimately like to have been first, but that's pretty much sewn up right now. But still, you know, me and Kevin have both had the same amount of DNFs and stuff, so it's, you know, it's really coming down to the wire with us. And, you know, I mean, he's kind of like considered the new up-and-coming young lion, or whatever you want to call it, out there. And you know, it would feel good to me and, you know, my mechanic and stuff to finish out the year pretty good.
The easy-going 31-year-old from Massachusetts, easy-going off the track anyway.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, Art, this guy in his interviews can just sound like a puppy dog. You know, he doesn't sound that aggressive, really, and then he gets out on the racetrack, and it's a whole different story.
John Dowd in pursuit now of Ezra Lusk, number 34. Ezra with a very disappointing season here in 125s after racing 250s in the Supercross season. It's Robbie Raynard out of Oklahoma, number 14, right behind John Dowd.
John trying to square that corner. You see the main line coming through. He didn't want to follow the same line of Lusk. Went wide, squared off the corner, trying to stay out of the roost.
Hoffman getting a little closer to Michael Craig for that third-place spot. Huffman coming back physically strong from his injuries, but then having the bike problems. That had to be very, very frustrating when you know you got your body back into shape after all that rehab and a very difficult knee injury, and then not have your bike perform up to par.
No, that's insult to injury, really, especially at the round when you didn't qualify. You fly all the way out to a race and just sit there and watch. It feels kind of weird. It's really tough. Keep yourself motivated and stay real confident when you're...
Whoa, they're getting real close in the corners. Huffman looking for his spot now.
He's keeping the pressure on. That's the best thing you can do with Craig. I've seen Craig look around a lot before. It's already starting to do it here.
Here's Huffman to the inside. Can he hold on? Yes, he does on the off-camber. Gets good power up the hill. Huffman moving into third. Well, what a good thing to see after such a frustrating season here in the motocross. A 34th in Washougal, still having the ignition problems, but came back, showed us a little bit more in that second moto with a 5th place finish, and now he's moved into third quickly here in the first moto.
You know, Huffman's pretty tall, 6'1". I would have somewhere in that range, I guess. See, he stands up quite a bit. He looks a little bit like Ron Lachine at times, and you see right there, it's good to keep his foot way up high out of those steep ruts. Great style. For a guy this tall, he sure makes it look easy on a 125.
He opened the season with a 4th in Gainesville, and then, of course, missed 5 races to injury, came back and did not do well in Buchanan, his first race back. But then his best finish at Troy, a 3rd place with a 3-2. So far, 2nd place finish is his best moto finish.
Had an interesting line to that long left hand before they dropped down the hill. He stayed all the way wide. Carried a lot of speed through the berm. You don't want to hit some of these berms too abrupt.
Oh, James Dobb could not control, going wide on the berm, trying to get back on the bike as quick as possible. James, a privateer, 8th in the points race right now. He picked off a moto win at Buchanan as he gets back on the racetrack. Pedro Gonzalez, 147 in 7th place. John Dowd, that's his next target as he's moving up the ranks. And John Dowd taking the corner. Oh, he had to get out of the way of Ezra Lusk right there, who went down. But Dowd didn't seem to break stride too much.
Fortunately, it was in a different line. And Mike Brown comes up and gives Dowd a little surprise.
Brownie on the inside. He's off to the left there. The Honda of Troy rider does not have a ride for next year. He's had a very difficult time of it this season. A disappointing Supercross year, and then injuries, a broken arm, and a bad wrist have hampered his efforts here in motocross this year. Out in front, Kevin Windham with Steve Lampson, a lonesome 2nd place right now. Damon Huffman in 3rd, and we'll be back with more 125 action in a moment. Oh, David, remember that sign at Unadilla says, "Let's party at Unadilla"? I didn't get a chance to, did you?
Nope.
But they're back. Great motocross fans as we rejoin the action here in Moto 1.
John Dowd still back there behind Gonzalez, trying to get around him. He lost the position to Mike Brown, so he's starting to slip back.
And get with it, the sign comes out again. Brian Berry is not at all happy with his rider right now. Getting lodged behind these guys. Brownie protects the track real well. Pedro Gonzalez is maybe not as quick as most riders.
That's absolutely right. Instead of having to get around one guy and dodge that little bit of roost, now he's got two guys taking different lines. They're giving him a face full of dirt and rocks. Brian Berry actually ran across the other section of the racetrack when he came the other way to yell at him some more. So he wants him to get on the stick.
Dowdy, all indications are leading towards signing again with Team Yamaha as we take a look at Mike Brown. Brown with a lot of potential and just has had some bad breaks, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. It's difficult. Just like Huffman, you have a lot of injuries, and yeah, it's hard to build up any confidence when you're like that. You know, these guys, one thing you can't see when they're out there is when they have arm pump. You hear him say it all the time. Once that happens, you can barely ride. You can't use the clutch. You barely work the throttle, and very difficult to tell if a rider has it. But one thing that's for sure is that the less time you can spend out there in a race situation healthy, the more problems you're going to have with it.
Oh, a great shot of the roost not long ago. Look at the roost coming up. Our camera got a few stones in it, I think. There is Robbie Raynard is now pulling up, and John Dowd gets in front of Mike Brown. So a nice move on the corner. It's Pedro Gonzalez, John Dowd, Mike Brown, and then Robbie Raynard.
Well, if I'm John Dowd, I want to pass all these guys before I get back to the mechanics area again. Brian Berry.
He might run out on the track this next time.
Yeah, you can tell. There's times when your mechanic will make those kind of gestures and kind of wake you up. You realize, geez, I got to get going here. The leaders are pulling away, and I'm in a battle for second in the series, and not going to hold on to it riding like this.
He's given a real challenge now to Pedro, looking for any way he can to get around the former Mexican champion. Kevin Windham is way out in front, drawing a nice lead right now. Steve Lampson, a two-time champion here with the 125s. He's in a lonesome second place. This is the battle for 7th, 8th, and 9th position. Four riders going at it. John Dowd trying to get around Pedro Gonzalez, number 147. Pedro has really had a lot of problems the last couple of seasons staying on two wheels, but he's doing a fine job right here.
Now, we keep mentioning that Dowd should be ahead of him, and like Pedro's holding up the show. I don't think he's holding up the show. He's riding pretty good right here. Just good enough to stay ahead of Dowd, and trying to get around guys, sometimes you kind of get magnetized into doing what the same things they're doing, actually make the same mistakes sometimes, and you don't ride up to your potential. I think that's what's happening to Dowd right now. He's a little quicker than Pedro, but he just can't find a way around right now.
This time of the year, too, we've got a lot of riders that are gunning for positions for next year. And Pedro is on the bubble. He's riding for Primal Honda this year. Here's John Dowd making a concerted effort to the outside. Pedro, though, on the left-hand turn, got the inside brake. Dowdy not letting off, though. Well, now he settles back in behind Pedro and tries the inside line. David, what would you do in a situation like this?
I'd scream and yell at him, get out of the way. You hear guys yelling at times, and it looks like he's going to finally get him right there. But boy, he sure had to work hard. And look how much energy he had to use, working inside and outside. Not necessarily the best line, but he had to muscle his way around. Now you can see already he's starting to get a little bit of a cushion. Probably he'll start to pull away a little bit right now, and he'll need to because there's that whole pack chasing him.
Back to our leader, Kevin Windham. And he's having a great time of it. He has not broken stride since he took over the lead after Lampson got the whole shot. Lammy has slowed up a bit. I don't know what might be wrong, but here he is. There's a big gap. He still looks strong mechanically anyway.
Well, he's moving through the lappers there. It seems to be fine, taking the good lines. Looks aggressive, but I think Wyndham's just on it today, and Lampson's already wrapped up the title. And hey, you got to wonder how deep he's willing to dig to go out there and try to catch Windham, who's proven so far this year that when he's on, no one can catch him, not even Lamson.
Boy, if Kevin should make a real strong showing here at the end of the season, what a psychological boost that's going to be for next year for the youngster in this head-to-head competition. Steve Lamson, of course, coming back once again to defend his 125 title, seeking a third consecutive crown. And as this youngster improves, we're going to see some exciting action, I think, David.
He will. And Lamson, as he came down the hill, one of the jumps, he just looked over to see where Wyndham was. So judging by the way he's riding right now and him looking around on the racetrack, he still wants to catch Wyndham. He hasn't given up yet.
Looks like he's picked it up a bit, riding more aggressively anyway.
A lot more aggressive. He charged into that finish line corner, back in dancing around. He's working it.
Buddy Anthonez in 5th spot. He's gunning for the top privateer award on the year. We'll be back in a moment. Art Ekman, David Bailey, and Davey Coombs from Binghampton, New York. Second to the last motocross action of the year. Here's our champion who wrapped things up in the first moto at Washougal, Ezra Lusk. Once again, he's had a difficult time of it. I think he's would be a pretty good agronomist by now.
Yeah, he's been tilling the field a lot. I hope he's okay right here. He doesn't look good, but there's Ed Longacre making his way over. This is pretty close to the mechanics area where he went down, up in the top section. Unfortunate.
The rumors have Ezra Lusk dealing with Yamaha for next year. Suzuki, of course, also tending an offer. As we take a look at the second place rider, Steve Lamson, and he's picking up a little bit on Kevin Wyndham, as we saw Wyndham just go around this corner in our screen earlier.
Well, Steve missed about 3 shifts going up the hill there, and he was looking down at the shift lever as if something was wrong with it. He just went through a right-hand corner, so it's possible that he could have jammed into that big berm there and got some dirt all stuck up in the foot peg and shifter. It happens sometimes on the brake side. Not usually on the shift side, but it's possible.
Our leader, Kevin Wyndham, still looking strong as he takes that controlled slide. This track has been known to get pretty slippery.
Well, it can at times. You want to stay in the berm. Just coming out of, in some of these lower hard pack sections, when you come out of the berm, you're still making the corner, it gets a little slick. Right now, though, Wyndham, all of his lines are coming together. He stands up, almost like he's just kind of going out there checking the track out for practice. Really aggressive through there. You can see how it gets a little slippery. That's mainly because he's just leaning into the corner and it's a little off camber as you make your way up to the top there.
Boy, you get a good shot of all the rocks on the track as well.
Makes it look easy. Wheeling over those big braking bumps coming down into that corner. That's where Dobb had trouble earlier going down. Wyndham looking over at one of the lapped riders.
Kevin still keeping up his speed despite a sizable lead here in Moto number 1.
Wyndham stealing a little glance coming out of the corner as he heads back up the hill. Lamson's coming down the hill into the corner, and he can probably see that his lead is not shrunk.
Oh, it's good to see Ezra back up on the bike, even though he is just going back to the pits, but it appears he's not seriously hurt. I thought he might have had it together after Southwick and Buchanan, a second place overall in Southwick with a 2-3 and a 4-5. Third place overall Buchanan, but Ezra back and having his problems in the last third of the season. As we take a look at our leader here in Moto 1. Oh, the heel clicker. He had enough room to display to the fans, get them all excited as he looks forward to his 5th Moto win on the season. Winning overalls at Glen Helen and Mount Morris. Putting himself in good position for a possible overall here at Binghampton.
Seems to like this track. This was the first race back last year for him. Binghampton round after he had mono. Finished 6th, and he went on to better that a little bit in the final round with a 5th. Not far to go here today, and it's like it's, so far anyway, perfect day for him.
Taking it nice and easy now as he circles on the final lap, points out there to the fans. Acknowledge him. Let's see if he does another heel clicker before this final lap is over with. I know the fans are waving their hats and anticipating it. The finish line jump isn't the biggest jump of all, but it's probably the happiest right now for Kevin Wyndham. As can he do it? Yeah, he had enough room to click those heels. Taking the checkered flag, Kevin Wyndham, our winner, with Steve Lamson He'll take second place. Damon Huffman third. Craig and Dowd rounding out our top 5 as Dowdy, well, he had a tough time getting there after the sluggish start, but he made it. Let's go to Davey Coombs.
Okay, Kevin, you've been telling us all year long you just want to start with Steve Lamson. You got your chance that time. You showed what you could do.
Yeah, that was awesome. You know, I love that. You know, I've been hoping for that all year, and you know, it's not even a big deal to me that Lamson has a title. You know, I'm still learning, and you know, he's going to come back and defend next year. So, you know, I got a lot of time next year. So, you know, I'm just using each one of these to try to learn as much as I can, and you know, I'm learning a lot, and hopefully I can just come back and bring it to me next year.
Kevin Windham issuing a challenge for 97. Let's go back to Davey Coombs as he moves his way over next to Steve Lamson, finishing second in today's Moto 1. Davey?
Congratulations on second place.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I just, you know, I tried to ride a strong race and had a couple problems there a few laps into it, and felt strong the rest of the way. Just Kevin was riding good and had a good pace going.
Your mechanic, Mike Gosser, told us there might have been something wrong with the right side of your bike, was there?
Yeah, I think just right here on this jump, I got some either a rock or some mud. It seemed like jammed up in the brake, and it was dragging a little bit for like a lap, and so that kind of didn't do me any good there. That's when Kevin got out a little ways on me. So
you got 7 overall wins in a row. How hard are you going to be charging for the overall here in the second moto?
I'm going to give it all I got. I'm not letting up a bit, even though I got the championship wrapped up. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to win.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So only 3 more 125 motos left on this 1996 season. And we'll be back with the action from our second moto at Binghampton, New York, right after these words.
First, 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 second, bad taco. First. No one in Supercross history has ever had a more perfect season. Honda's Jeremy McGrath, 4-time Supercross champion.
Welcome back to Binghamton, New York. Art Ekman, David Bailey, and Davey Coombs as we're getting set now for Moto 2 of the 125s. There you see Buddy Antunez, and he's hopeful, of course, of top privateer honors, not only for this race, but also for the season. Robbie Raynard, Brian Deegan of Team Chaparral, number 25, and the defending champion Steve Lamson, who swept both motos here last year for his 5th overall of the season. He has won 9 of 11 overalls coming into today's race, placing second in Moto 1. His hopes are to cap things off right here in Moto number 2. And Lammy with another good start. Ezra Lusk and Brown also with a good start. Number 21, Chad Pedersen on the outside. Number 9 is Brown. 17 is Michael Craig. Give the whole shot to Craig.
Looks good for Team Honda Troy right now. Craig and Brown out front, but they got bad news. Wyndham's right there. If he rides anything like he did in the first moto, these guys are going to have company soon.
Michael Craig has shown us some outstanding talent in the last couple of races, and he certainly has proved that that Honda Troy machine can get a whole shot.
Brown going wide, and that left-hander back there. Wyndham to the inside.
Here's Brown, Wyndham, John Dowd, Chad Pedersen, Steve Lamson. Number 29 is David Pingree.
Pingree just coming back after his injuries. Not a bad showing in his first race back, that he just wanted to get in the top 10. His goal is to get in the top 5 before the season's out. Wyndham right now is in pretty good position in terms of the overall. He's still ahead of Lamson. As long as it stays that way, they finish pretty far up to the front, he should be able to get the overall today.
Boy, a shot that shows you how good those shock absorbers have to be, huh?
One of the fastest sections on the racetrack, Art, coming down that hill. A lot of braking bumps going in the corner. Makes it almost impossible to get stopped and hold that inside line.
Look at the body positions these riders take.
A lot of different lines, too. You see Wyndham went way out wide and squared that corner. Made up a lot of time right there on Brown.
Wyndham looking for the opportunity to move into second place. Brown shuts him off at the corner.
Almost looked like he missed a gear or something there for a moment. Just had to brake and avoid running into Brown. And still able to get over that double jump, though.
Michael Craig starting to pull away just a little bit as Brown and Wyndham fight it out for second place.
It's shaping up to be a great battle. Lamson right now putting the pressure on John Dowd right behind Wyndham. Everybody's still close right now. This is anybody's race.
So Moto2 starts off with a great deal of competitive excitement. Michael Craig, our leader, Mike Brown in second, Wyndham third, Dowd in fourth, and Lamy in fifth.
See these 125 wide open through that sweeper. You get a shot of the ground, you can see how many rocks are there. One of those hits that you're going to know it. That's why a lot of these guys like to go with those hand guards.
Wyndham gets his move into second place on Brown.
It's been a popular place for him to get around people. Just carries his momentum wide all the way around that sweeper up top. Before he heads down the hill, he's back to the inside again. Nice move.
Michael Craig not that far off here in the early going for Kevin Wyndham in second place to take on now.
Wyndham just so fast everywhere. Lamson right there getting a little close to the hay bale coming out of that corner. Taking a look at the Suzuki stopwatch as they head up the hill. Not much time separating all the leaders.
Wyndham using part of the grass on the course.
Getting over out of that loamy soil into the grass, hoping to hook up a little bit better. The fact that that's still grassy leads me to believe it's still smooth over there too. Down that downhill one more time. Wyndham going all the way to the inside, trying to stay out of the bumps. He's got to slow down a little bit more at the bottom to make the corner, but...
Whoa! Steve Lamson is off the course. He was having a bumping good time with Brown there for a moment. But Lamy up and running once again.
Brown may have bumped him out over that berm. Who knows? They were having a good dice back there, but early in the race, when you go down, I've said this before, you're going to lose a lot of position.
Let's go down to the pit area now with the mechanics and Davey Coombs.
Mike, Steve's further back than you wanted him to be. Do you know what happened?
One of the AMA officials told me he overshot a berm up on top there. We really don't know.
If he keeps going, do you think he'll have time to get in the top 5 again?
I think he'll get in the top 5. I hope he can catch Wyndham in time. He's moving pretty good right now.
As we take a look at the leaders, Mike Craig getting some pressure now from Kevin Wyndham. Lamson is up and running in 14th. Going down early in the race. He's got time, but I don't know if he can catch these leaders.
These guys are starting to open it up. Craig riding a pretty good race. Looking around again. One of his habits. And looking around isn't such a big deal. You see McGrath do it a lot in the 250 class, but he does it a lot, especially when you're catching him. And that's really just an indicator that he's starting to worry about you. And
yeah, and he's got every right to, David, as Kevin Wyndham is right there looking for a spot. We'll be back with more of our 125 action in a moment. Welcome back. Art Ekman, David Bailey, and Davey Coombs as Michael Craig leading Kevin Wyndham, but not by much, as Kevin is really hounding the Honda of Troy rider right now. Craig with a second at Washougal. Went down twice in Moto 1, still got up for a third place finish in that moto. And the 2/3 that day added up to second overall. So Michael's been very competitive so far, but it's obvious that he is concerned about number 38, the young phenom of Team Yamaha.
I would be. He's going as fast as he can. He's trying to take the best line everywhere, and Wyndham's right there. Won't let him go. That makes you nervous.
Oh, the inside move once again. That's his favorite passing area. Kevin Wyndham now. And coming on the outside, he's got the inside move coming down off the hill.
He scooted right into that berm, too. He had already set up that pass going up the hill. It went just a little to Mike's left. Once Mike opened the door, he just rode right to the inside. He scoots down that hill. Excellent form today for Wyndham. He's doing everything right. Starting to pull away. Craig in a lonely second place right now as this battle for third. Dowd is riding a lot better this moto than he did in the first moto. Brian Berry was a little uptight with him, yelling at him, putting on the pit board. Come on, get with it.
Dowd's next target is third place. Mike Brown right there now, number 9. Let's go to Davey.
Brian, a little bit better start for John this time.
Yeah, much better start, and he seems to be, he's kind of behind Brown right now, but I mean, Brown's also got a pretty good pace going right now, so it's not quite as frustrating as the last moto was, and he's trying to make some moves right here, so hopefully we can get Yamaha's 1-2.
Maybe you put the fear of God in between motos.
I think you did when you asked him why I was so mad at him.
The Davey Coombs motivational seminars underway between motos. Mike Brown, John Dowd. Dowdy in a much better position right now here in Moto 2 than he was in Moto 1.
You can see as they head up the hill, Wyndham and Craig just heading out of the corner, so he's still in contact with the leaders.
You know, John Dowd has such an emotional mechanic in his presentation. What about your mechanics, David? Like Cliff White, who didn't have to say too much, kind of hit the nail on the head when he did.
Well, Cliff was actually a comedian. I mean, a lot of people didn't really know how to take him. He's very quiet, very intense, but then every now and then he'd come up with something and get us all laughing. And he knew how to motivate me without saying much. It was interesting, the relationship that we had. I knew what he was thinking. And I put a lot of pressure on myself, and he knew that I was serious, and I came to the race prepared, and he didn't need to add to any pressure that I already put on myself by getting excited like that in the mechanics area.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the relationships between the various mechanics and the riders, because each rider demands a different element.
Right. I think John Dowd, I mean, you can see in some of his interviews, he kind of just want to wake him up, go, come on, get aggressive, you know, sound positive and sound like you're going to win this race. You know, he kind of hem-haws around a little bit, and I think Brian Berry is just what he needs to say, come on, you're fast enough, you've beaten these guys before, now get out there and do it.
Two Honda of Troy riders bucking it up along with John Dowd. Michael Craig, who's proved very quick lately.
Craig coming down that hill a little bit slower than he's been. These guys starting to catch up. Dowd coming down the downhill on the outside, carried all that speed into the corner.
Good clean move by John Dowd to get by Mike Brown.
And he knows mechanics pretty stoked. They're right across the valley. He can see that pass. Dowd looks like he's going to the front. Look how fast he got through that left-hander. Just laid it over.
That's another thing about motocross. Your mechanics can't see the whole track. Sometimes they can only see a small portion.
Right. Most of the Unadilla, in fact, the mechanics area has been changed. Redbud, it's been changed just a little bit. A lot of the places have cleared some of the trees, trimmed them up so that the mechanics can get a better view of what's going on out there, so they can let their rider know before they come around any splits or what may have happened, the position they're in. Sometimes they don't get to see them until they're right there on the same straightaway, and that doesn't work.
Unlike NASCAR, where you got the radio and the helmets and so forth, constant communication with the pit crew. These guys are on their own out there until they come around to that pit void.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of the team guys with the headset. I think they all have them. Some of the former rider managers, Jeff Stand, for instance, and Mike Kudrowski, you'll see them on the headset too, but no communication to the rider at all. He's on his own the whole time.
Kevin Windham, our leader, and this is the battle for second place.
Dowd coming down the inside. That's the line that Kevin Windham's been using, where he was able to get around Mike Craig right there. See if Dowd could do the same thing if he hasn't gotten him by the next lap.
Actually, this is Dowd's first year on the 125s. He was second in the 250s here last year with a 2-3. Takes to the inside, and yes, he's got second place on Michael Craig.
Craig starting to look around a lot. Craig taking the fastest line. It's been the fastest line so far today, but Dowd just came in hot. Hit the berm early and squared across, took the line away. Craig looking back to see who was next. I don't think he realized Dowd was coming that strong. Caught him by surprise.
Well, Keith McCarty has to be happy right now with his Yamahas in first and second here in Moto number 2. Kevin Windham and John Dowd out in front. Two Honda of Troy riders next, then Team Kawasaki. We'll be back with more 125 action, the race to the checkers, in a moment. At almost every track, we've had record crowds, and Binghampton, New York is no exception, as Kevin Windham out in front looking for his first sweep of the year after taking Moto 1, and he's just pulling away right now.
Still wheeling down that downhill over those bumps so he can get into the berm a little quicker. Still doing everything right, pulling away.
Damon Huffman in 5th place now after his 3rd in the first moto. Is looking for a pretty good overall finish now. Of course, the anticipation with this crowd, you can't help but think of the tremendous race coming up in the 250s. Can Jeremy McGrath whittle down that points lead of Jeff Emig before going into the final event in Delmont? What a race for the championship that is, as Steve Lamson, number 1, even though he's trailing Buddy Antunez, number 22 in this moto, has already, of course, secured the 125 crown.
Still back in 7th place, though, right now. His worst finish on the year is a 6th, so you would think that he would be moving up through the pack.
Yeah, really, his worst performance was an awful one, considering his tremendous record this year at Mount Morris of 5-6 for an 8th overall.
That was a bad race for him, and it's been a wake-up call, I think, because he's won every race since, 7 overall wins in a row. Came out fighting after that. He's been tough. Wyndham has been tough here and there, but he hasn't been consistent.
Well, despite the spectacular season that Jeremy McGrath has had, Lamson, who makes a great move on the inside to move into 6th place now, has had a much better season than Jeremy.
Well, to give you an idea of how dominant he's been, he holds a 131-point lead coming into this race, so that's a little over 5 motos points lead. It's a nice cushion to have.
Let's get the latest now from Davey Coombs down in the mechanics area.
Kevin checked out early, but now he's got Dowd sneak up just a little bit. Or is he out of time?
I think Dowd's out of time. Kevin's just kind of pacing himself. He's watching where those guys are, just riding smooth, trying to be smart.
Ali Seymour and his rider, a good friendship off the track as well. They own a house together in the Southern California area. Todd DeHoop, the Michigan rider, a DNF. This is only his 3rd 125 National of the year. Mike Brown, 4th place, as you see there, but Damon Huffman now is starting to make a move.
Anytime we've seen Huffman this close to a guy handling him, he's been able to get by each time. You see he's got different lines everywhere. Huffman making that move, just square the corner, see if he can hang on to it up through here. Brown has the inside. Huffman fast all the way around the outside, though. Wyndham's been fast at that corner as well today. Huffman, though, it really impresses me how he flows with that bike. I know when you're really tall, I used to ride 125s a little bit during the week, and I just felt big on the bike. He makes it look easy.
There you see Lamson coming up behind Brown now. Steve Lamson trying to move up the ladder. Lammy with a good inside, easy move on Mike Brown.
Brown's just going to follow the main groove all the way to the outside, just like John Dowd did a little earlier, taking over 2nd from Craig. Lamson cuts to the inside, just shaves off a little distance there on the racetrack, able to make the block pass.
Boy, I love to see that competitive spirit of Steve Lamson, as Robbie Raynard now in 6th position. But Lammy, despite the fact he's got the crown wrapped up, is just fighting for every position he can during this race.
Lamson, I think, just like everyone else, in the beginning, starting off the season saying, I'm going to take each race one at a time. Well, for Lamson, the first few races went so well, establishing that points lead. It became a lot easier to take each race one at a time, and for him to not win these races at the end of the season would be a disappointment, really, with the kind of season he's had. So he's given it all he's got.
Lammy on the follow. Damon Huffman right in front of him. Lammy losing a little bit of time here, trying to get around the lapper. After the early crash, he's moving up into the 5th spot. Kevin Wyndham, John Dowd, Mike Craig, Damon Huffman in front of him. We'll be back with the finish of the 125 second moto in a moment. During our break, Huffman right here was able to get in front of Michael Craig, and Steve Lamson now just makes the move on number 17 in the corner.
Lamson and Huffman right now locked in a battle amongst themselves. Picked up the pace, a little bit too much for Craig right now. Huffman looks pretty strong, but Lamson is so determined. So strong towards the end of the race. Plus, I would say Huffman may be bothered just a little bit by having the national champion on his tail. He hasn't had a chance to run with him that much this season. You can bet Huffman's worried about him.
Coming into this race, Lamson had won 9 of the 11 overalls, 13 moto wins in only 22 motos. But he's had to take a back step to young Kevin Wyndham, who is looking for his first sweep of his 125 outdoor career. Steve Lamson now really showing a wheel to Damon Huffman, trying to move up one more notch before the checkers.
Left rider there.
Oh, Huffman getting right behind him, but Lammy couldn't take advantage of it.
Yeah, the left rider really didn't know where to go. These guys both went around each side of him. Looked like it was going to be to Lamson's advantage, though, as he came out of the corner. Huffman had nowhere to go. He got right in that line. Able to save it, though. Both riders working that berm at the bottom of the big downhill. Same line. Sometimes they'll take the same line, even though you know you can't pass. You just don't want to lose any ground. There may be a spot on the racetrack where Lamson thinks he's faster, and he'll want to stay as close as possible, so when they get to that spot, he'll be able to take advantage.
We might add at this point in time that Mikel Pichon is still out with the chronic fatigue syndrome, that virus that he's got, and Tim Ferry out with an injury in this 125 day, as Damon Huffman now in danger of losing his spot to the defending champion Steve Lamson.
Lamson keeping the pressure on.
Good hard move into that corner. There's nothing Huffman could do about that.
No, Lamson just stayed close enough. As soon as he saw an opening, he went for it. I think Huffman was just trying to take what he thought was the best line, and Lamson just had a little bit more for him. And sometimes it's a little easier to ride around in second place, especially towards the end of the race. You start to get a little tired. You can focus on what the guy's doing in front of you and take advantage.
So if Lamson on this final lap settles for third, that means a 2-3 would give him a second overall. That's his first second overall of the season. Kevin Windham, our leader. Boy, he's going to be a happy young man after this race. But John Dowd is kind of sneaking up on him a little bit. You see him turn his head around right there to check things out. He's been having a rather leisurely ride here in Moto number 2.
Still got time to show off a little bit for the fans, acknowledge them. They've been so loud here today. And it's typically when you win, I remember, you know, on those few days where I was able to sweep, it's a little bit boring for the fans. You want to try to do something to get them back into it, let them know that you appreciate it and hear them out there. And the problem with that is that Dowd's the type of guy that won't give up till the checkered flag. So when he starts cruising around celebrating, Dowd will close in.
Windham picking it up a little bit now here on the final lap. All kinds of shouts of encouragement. Oh, it's going to be a proud moment for this young man. Oh, even for team manager Keith McCarty doing a headstand. I don't know if Kevin saw who it was when he went by. I don't know if he could recognize him in that form. But Kevin Windham takes the checkered flag for the second time today. No heel clicking. Dowd was closing in. But it's Windham, Dowd, and Lamson here at Moto number 2. Davey Coombs is with our winner.
Congratulations on your 3rd national win of the year.
Yeah, it feels great, and I finally did it the way I wanted to do it with a 1-1. Yeah, it feels more just as good as any part of it.
Yeah. I know that you've always gotten a 1-4 or something like that. Tying those two motos together like this, does that give you any momentum going into Steel City next week in the season finale?
You know I love Steel City, and that's definitely going to give me an edge going there, and hopefully I can do just as good as I did here and have an edge going into next year. So really happy with my performance today. My bike was working good. I'd like to thank my mechanic, Holly Seymour, and all the guys at Yamaha. This bike was just working superb.
Taking a look at the overall results, the sweep by Kevin Windham, Lamson, and Dowd. Dowd after a good finish in Moto 2. Damon Huffman capping it off with a fine 4th overall, and Michael Craig holding on to 5th. David Pingree in the top 10 in his comeback. Davey?
John, a much better start that time and much quicker through the pack, too.
Yeah, that definitely helps out a lot. You know, I got out of the gate pretty good this time, and, you know, I was just kind of able to run up front with the fast guys there for the first few laps, and, you know, that really helped me out. I managed to stay loose, and, I don't know, it's a lot better than the first moto.
You're also staying close to your teammate Kevin Windham in the championship chase. You're trying to fight for second still.
Yeah, next, I don't know what the points are right now, but I know it's pretty tight, but one more race, we'll have to see what happens next week.
All right, congratulations on that ride.
Thanks a lot.
It's going to be a great battle. Windham and Dowd tied going to the final round. Dowd refuses to give up, and Lamson's probably glad he's already wrapped up the title. Let's hear it from the 2-time champion.
Steve, that was a great comeback out there.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I didn't get that great of a start, but I charged through the pack, and when I was passing Brown, I hit his back wheel going pretty fast and just high-sided over pretty good, so I was way back then.
Were you aware of how far you were coming up through the pack?
I was kind of to keep track, but
I was just kind of looking at my pit board and not so much worried about that. I was just worried about catching the next guy in front of me. So,
well, congratulations on second overall here today.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Looking at the Suzuki 1996 Series standings, Lamson simply adding icing to the cake. Wyndham and Dowd, of course, tied. Antonez, the top privateer. Very idle from injury, and Brown in the top 10 for the first time since the opening race. The 250 run for the championship is coming up next.